Gandhi said the end is inherent in the means. Martin Luther King said that the change we wish to see in the world will have as much to do with a qualitative change in our souls as with a quantitative change in our circumstances. So we gather here with our minds and our hearts open to change, knowing that that first change has to be a quantum leap within ourselves. That is the only way that we can then become conduits for the kind of quantum leap forward that we wish to see in our nation and in our world. There are people who have somewhat poo-pooed the Department of Peace campaign. They simply don't see it as possible. But I want to remind you right now that the first abolitionists would not have thought that abolition was possible. The first women suffragettes would not have thought that women's suffrage was possible. No serious social change has happened in our country or in our world because it seemed possible at the time. It did not happen because the majority woke up one day, because the status quo woke up one day and said this is a good idea. Such social change in the direction of sanity. And Mahatma Gandhi said the problem with the world is that humanity is not in its right mind. Sanity, real sanity, deep wisdom is always counter to the status quo. 'Tis now and 'twas always thus. I share with you, and I hope that you will join with me in the thought that this is absolutely doable within 5 years. Can I find a witness? During the next presidential campaign, I envision a conference here in Washington for the National Department of Peace. I envision a conference where there are at least 5,000 people, and I envision more than one serious presidential candidate bending over backwards to absolutely convince this constituency that his or her first act when elected president will be to push for this legislation. That means we have a lot of work to do, and we are here to do it. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about the fact that we are here to serve the ages. This is much bigger than whether we get this particular department legislation passed in this particular congressional session. This is more important and a bigger process than the discussion of whether or not we will even see peace on earth in our lifetimes. We are doing this for our children, for our grandchildren, and for our grandchildren's grandchildren. It is when we serve the ages and not just ourselves that we find the deepest meaning in our souls, and it is when we come from that level of depth that we will have the power to move the American government in the direction of that level of depth. And it is that level of depth that will create love and peace and harmony on earth.